Select your token.
I'll be the Scotty dog. Amy, you are always the Scotty dog. Every time. Yeah, it's actually kind of unfair.
I like being the dog.
I know, but sometimes you need to share it around a little bit.
You're going to be the dog, then I'm going to bag the top hat.
No, because if you're the top hat, that means I'm the thimble. I'm always a thimble, you guys.
Jess, you're good at being a thimble.
I don't want to be the thimble.
Jessica, you are the thimble. Players to starting position. Remove left leg. Top hat, advance 3 paces. Round 2. Remove right leg. Thimble, advance 2 paces. Trivia round. What is the capital of Peru?
Ding ding, Lima.
Top hat, advance 1 pace. Thimble, miss a turn.
Come on.
Back chat penalty. All players go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not leave the wall. Unsportsmanlike behaviour. Penalty. Lasers on. Level complete. Left hand blue. Right hand head. Right foot knee. Right toe floor. Left hand hip. Right arm swing. Left hand neck. Head duck. Left leg swipe. Thumbs up. Nose shoulder. Right leg lift. Left knee bend, hand grab, right leg forward, wrist hip, left hand cheek, knee hip, hands together. Fist pump penalty. The floor will turn to lava in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, Thimble is disqualified.
Fine. Great even, because do you know what? It actually just proves my point that the thimble always loses. But no! You guys had to name the thimble again. I mean, why is there even a thimble in the game? I mean, who even uses thimbles anymore? Seriously, I want to...
Final round, peg check. Scotty Dog wins. Winner's penalty.
Australia. This is the past, the present, and the future. This is an offering. It's a lifelong exploration into what I'm yet to understand. So patriotic that I have the entire continent tattooed here, and Table Mountain in Cape Town there. If you're South African, you have to love rugby. bloody well pretend that you do, because no South African doesn't like sport. Fuck off, you don't eat meat. What about this leg of rye flakes? And it's sad that I had to practice to talk like this again. It's sad because I've been here for 7 years. Sorry, years? 7 years, like years? 7 years, and legally, on paper, I'm Australian and South African. But in reality, I don't feel like either. And it's sad because I'm not sad because I miss home and I feel like I need some greater connection to the motherland and Africa and the love that I have for people. It's more that in our current political climate, I'm unsure whether or not I'll ever be happy or proud to say that I'm an Australian. and speak to you all about pre- and post-operative care of the surgical patient. Now, refer to the online portal for all lecture materials and notes readings relating to this, and please read all of the material online before you come to me. There is such a thing as a stupid question. So this is all very straightforward stuff. I'm just going to skim right through it. Our subject over here is our case study for today. So firstly, we'll look at the assessment of operative risk. It's important that you look at natural history, stages of the disease, clinical judgment, and basic factors affecting operative risk. The nurses are also responsible for all of this stuff, so we don't have to worry too much about it, but it is important that all the paperwork is in place, because you cannot begin your surgery until all the paperwork is done. So that's why the relationship that you have with your patient is vitally important. So please step forward. So you should not convey a sense of hurry to your patient. Get a second opinion, but be selective about who you choose, because you want your procedure to be approved and it has to be signed off by another physician. So make sure you be selective. And also, the most important part, please step forward, is get consent. You cannot begin your procedure until you have consent. Regardless of how much insurance you have, you must have complete written and checked consent. So, going back to the doctor-patient report. You need to prepare your patient psychologically for the procedure. Let them know what it's going to be like, but only mention briefly the chance of disfiguration. Because remember, you want that consent form signed. Please step forward. Right. And then, we would recommend that you run a few physiological tests. So you have to look at blood volume considerations, look at the limit for tissue oxygen delivery, look at plasma and extracellular fluid deficit, nutrition, and infection prevention. I will screen right through these. Right, consent, please.
I hereby give consent for the operation procedure about to take place and understand all the risks involved.
There are a few operative techniques that you can employ, so I suggest you take note, because this minimises your chance of infection. If you're seen to be doing the right thing, then your chance of legal issues arising will be lessened, so I would recommend you take note. Have a preoperative checklist. That means, so have an operative permit, get an RN to sign off on that one as well. Look at their dietary considerations and the vital sign recordings. Look at CXR and other pulmonary studies. Also look at BUN, creatine and other renal studies, and then ECG and other cardiac studies. Cardiac complication. Circular vein extension. Myocardial infarct. BUN should not be greater than 5 mils per 100 grams. Anesthesia time greater than 3 hours. Abnormal chest declining. Persistent possible drainage. Once the surgical procedure is complete, it's important that our job is mostly done and we refer on to the right people. Now the subject over here, he had a physical condition that required the correction for mobility and structural development. Now the rehab process for the subject, it will involve human movement specialists. So we should look at referring them to physiotherapists, occupational therapists, hydrotherapy, and other rehabilitative specialists. I would then also schedule 2 to 3 appointments with a physician just to check the late signs of post-rehabilitation or stress, and then 1 to 2 per month after that to check on progress.
Tonight I rise to invite Prime Minister Tony Abbott to visit the beautiful state of Western Australia. I do this in good faith because we are only a matter of weeks away from a historic by-election that will determine not just the final makeup of this chamber after July, but will decide much more of consequence to the people of Western Australia whether they're thinking of voting for the Greens or not. Prime Minister, you are welcome out west, but this is a respectful invitation to think carefully about what baggage you pack when you make your next flying campaign stopover. When you arrive at Perth Airport, you'll alight on the traditional country of the Wajak Noongar people, who have sung this country now for more than 40,000 years. This is 200 times the age of the city that now stands on the banks of the Derbyl Yarragon, the Swan River. Understand that you're now closer to Denpasar than to Western Sydney, in a state where an entire generation has been priced out of affordable housing. Recognise that you are standing in a place where the drought never ended, where climate change, from land clearing and fossil fuel combustion, is a lived reality that is already costing jobs, property and lives. Mr Prime Minister, at your next press conference, we invite you to leave your excruciatingly boring three-word slogans at home. If your image of Western Australia is of some caricatured redneck backwater that is enjoying the murderous horror unfolding alongside, you're reading us wrong. Every time you refer to us as the mining state, as though the western third of our ancient continent is just Gina Rinehart's inheritance to be chopped, benched and blasted, you're reading us wrong. Western Australians are a generous and welcoming lot, but if you arrive and start talking proudly about your attempts to bankrupt the renewable energy sector, or cripple the independence of the ABC and privatise SBS, if you show up waving your homophobia in people's faces and start boasting about your ever more insidious attacks on the trade union movement and all working people, you can expect a very different kind of welcome. People are under enough pressure as it is, without 3 years of this government going out of its way to make it worse. It looks awkward when you take policy advice on penalty rates and the minimum wage from mining billionaires and media oligarchs on the other side of the world. Awkward and kind of revolting. It is good to remember that these things are temporary for anyone listening in from outside this almost empty Senate chamber. The truth is, Prime Minister Tony Abbott and this benighted attempt at a government are a temporary phenomenon. This too will pass, and we need to keep our eyes on the bigger picture. Just as the reign of the dinosaurs was cut short to their great surprise, it may be that the Abbott government will appear as nothing more than a thin, greasy layer in the core sample of future political scientists drilling back into the early years of the 21st century. Since the first day of Senator Valentine's first term, the Greens have been articulating a vision of Australia as it could be. An economy running on infinite flows of renewable energy, a society that never forgets it lives on country occupied by the planet's oldest continuing civilization, and a country that values education, innovation and equality. Mr Abbott, with thoughtless cancellation of $500 million of Commonwealth funding for the Perth Light Rail project has been noted. Your blank cheque for Colin Barnett's bloody and unnecessary shark cull has been noted. Your attack on Medicare, on schools funding, on tertiary education, noted. The fact that your only proposal for environmental reforms thus far is to leave Minister Greg Hunt playing solitaire for the next 3 years while you outsource his responsibilities to the same Premier who presides over the shark cull, that's been noted too. You may not believe this, Prime Minister, but your advocacy on behalf of foreign biotechnology corporations and Hollywood's copyright industrial complex to chain Australia into the Trans-Pacific Partnership, even that has been noted. People have been keeping the record. Every time you've been given the opportunity to choose between predator capitalism and the public interest, and it's bitterly obvious whose side you're on. So to be very blunt, the reason that I extend this invitation to you, Mr Prime Minister, to spend as much time as you can spare in Western Australia is that every time you open your mouth, the Green vote goes up. Geeks and coders, network engineers and gamers who would never have voted Green in a million years without the blundering and technically illiterate assistance of your leadership team, for this I can only thank you. And perhaps most profoundly, your determined campaign to provoke fear in our community, fear of innocent families fleeing war and violence in our region, in the hope that it would bring out the worst in Australians, is instead bringing out the best in us. Prime Minister, you are welcome to take your heartless, racist exploitation of people's fears and ram it as far from Western Australia as your taxpayer-funded travel entitlements can take you. What is at stake here, in the most immediate sense, is whether or not Prime Minister Tony Abbott has total control of this Parliament in coming years. But I've come to realise that it's about much more than that. We want our country back. Through chance, misadventure and somewhere a couple of boxes of misplaced ballot papers, we've been given the opportunity to take it back. Just one seat next April 5 and a whole lot more in 2016. Game on, Prime Minister. See you out west.